I want to get up and go make some cold brew. Now, I mean, are you kidding me? Well, I think the way they say it in the movies is, show me the money. $142,000 in gross revenues from a $1,500 machine. Well, how does that work?
You'd know money, wouldn't you?
I would. As a in a prior life, I was a CPA. So let's dig into the numbers and see what they look like.
God, now he's making cold brew. Kind of a weird.
Yeah, where did that come from? 142 grand represents top line revenues that you can earn from this machine if you run it 3 times a week for 50 weeks. Today we're gonna make 2 gallons of concentrate, and that 2 gallons of concentrate is gonna equate to about 173 beverages. So let's just put that into start with top line revenues per batch. 173 beverages, figure we get about $5.50 per batch. That is $950.40 per batch in top line revenues from this here machine. That's amazing, think about it. You run it, and a half hour later, you've made a product that cost you a lot less into 950 bucks. Now let's figure out, when I say a lot less, what are those numbers exactly? Top line revenues, and we've got costs. And costs break down into coffee, and because we're dealing with iced lattes, we've got milk, syrup, ice cups, lids, all of that. That's gonna break down to 46 cents per cup. Figure 6 pounds of coffee. We're gonna go ahead and pop in the remaining 3 pounds here. 6 pounds of coffee. For the purpose of this example, I used $12 per pound. Now, you know, gosh, with the cost of coffee and everything else that we have in today's world, I think that cost of goods sold is really key. And that's one thing about this brewing system that's so amazing, and that is the pure efficiency of it. This thing cranks out 20 to 21% extraction compared to immersion in the 16, 17, 18%. And what do you say we get this baby brewing?
Sounds good.
All right. So we've got 6 pounds of coffee, 12 bucks a pound, that's $72. We've got 46 cents per cup. Now here's where it gets really interesting. You saw how quickly I set this up. This brewer is going to take about a half hour per batch in labor costs. Now let's compare that to immersion. Anybody who's brewed in a bucket knows how cumbersome the process is. But only a half hour of labor at $20 an hour, that's going to break down to about 10 bucks per batch. So when we take a look at this whole thing, we're going to make 173 cups at $5.50 is going to break out to $950 in gross revenues. Our total costs, half hour of labor, all of our condiments, our ice, milk, syrup, everything else, and our coffee cost is going to break out to $161.57. That is $788 gross margin per batch. And it took you a half hour to do it.
How does that make you feel? Like, imagine if you were in a coffee
I
shop.
want to get up and go make some cold brew. Now, I mean, are you kidding me? $788 per batch. That is absolutely amazing. And if you equate that to the investment in this machine, which is $1,495, that is a 7,900% ROI. And that number is our 142 grand in gross revenues, our 24 grand in total costs, leaving a gross margin of $118,000 on your $1,500 investment is $79.14. You know, there's another great rule, and that is 80% of your results come from 20% of your effort, right? And we know that iced lattes, iced beverages, not cold brew, not still cold brew, but all of the mixed beverages, that's 80% of your 80% of your menu. So that's what this is based on. And it's based on 3 brews per week for 50 weeks. That ends up in $142,000 in gross revenues and $118,000 into your pocket. All right.
You think that's about average for just any average coffee shop?
Yeah. I mean, if you've got a good location, you can do that out of a food truck, you can do that at fairs, you can do that out of a brick and mortar store. But the key thing is, I mean, okay, pare it back to 1 brew a week. That's still $788 per batch for a half hour of work. Now you got to go sell the beverages, put that in the calculation. And think about it this way. You created a product that cost you $161 and out of it came $950. So you increase the value of this product exponentially by just running it through this simple machine. All right, Now let's compare. You could say, well, hey, I can go do this in an immersion bucket. But there's a couple really key things about this that you need to think about. For that same level of production, on this piece of equipment, it's going to take you 150 brews at 0.5 of an hour per brew. Now this is the efficiency factor. You take an immersion bucket, it's going to take you 324 brews at an hour and a half per brew to make the same amount of coffee. So if you take the difference in labor hours, is going to be $8,640, which is $486 versus 75 hours. That's the difference. Now, if you look at the amount of coffee used, let's consider that. The Hive Cafe is going to use 900 pounds of coffee to generate that 146 grand. If you go to an immersion bucket, it's going to take you 1,620 pounds to brew the same amount of coffee. So the difference over 1 year is 720 pounds of coffee. So you figure that out. I mean, we use $12 a pound. That equates to $8,640 difference in just the cost of the coffee. So you could say, Ray, well, I'm gonna go buy myself a bucket for $75. Well, that is gonna cost you 16 grand over 1 year's time. So think about that. It may look cheap, but it's going to cost you a lot of money in the long run. You know, you've got to make a profit to support your. You've got to make a profit to support your passion.
You heard it here first, folks.
I can appreciate, you know, passion, but by the same token, you are doing this as a business, and if you don't think about it that way, you won't be supporting your passion for long. So do it smart. The highest and best use of your resources, and that's your time, your labor, and your money, and you'll support your passion for years to come.
I love it.